I hate kids with long hair. Now, more specifically, I hate those annoying preteen guys with that long haircut. You know the one. And I'll flash it up on the screen there. Now you might be asking, why do you hate a group of people based off of a hairstyle? To the point where you'd make a video about that group. And while the real answer is I needed content, the answer I'll be giving you is a little more in depth. I referee for money, on the side. More specifically, I referee soccer or football if you're outside the US, and these kids are the worst. Now, let me put that into context. When I mean the worst, I don't mean they yell the most or they hit the most or whatever. I mean where there is already the worst of the worst people gathering into one spot to play a sport, they are the worst in that group. This means they are the worst of the worst of the worst. Why, you might ask? Let me just put it in a context or story. Let me tell you a story. One time I was reffing a small game, and this was kind of like an overspill for a tournament, which I was reserved for. This means that I wasn't getting paid anything for it, and that it was just free work for the actual organization that I was working for. And while out there, you had the worst of the worst kids already, and this included, of course, the white trash kid, the one that uses Reddit all the time, and his mom tried to get him outside of the house, and then, of course, the main protagonist of the story, the kid with the long hair. Now, I was already pissed about not getting paid for this little crappy game and having to deal with a very annoying team. So, if it wasn't for that, I would also be pissed about the fact that the kids on there were complete a-holes, alright? They were just trash. Now, I made a wrong call, I'll admit it, alright? I didn't call in offsides, and for those who don't know, it's, Google exists, so use that. And I made a wrong call, and then this long-haired kid, of course, sits there and says, what happened? Where was that? And he's screaming from halfway across the field. And, I'm looking at him, and my glasses were out of prescription. That's right, I use glasses. My glasses were out of prescription, and the sun was in my eyes. I couldn't see anything. So I got this kid sitting there talking trash, and I'm squinting over at him like, what is he saying? And then he tells me to not look at him like that, or he'll come over there. Now that was, already pretty trashy, but when you're reffing, you get used to it. So I was like, whatever, who cares? You just keep going with it. And then my center referee, Sitter's supposed to be my, my dude. He's supposed to help me out in this situation. Pretty much just throws me under the bus. Is like, whatever, L. So I'm sitting there trying, and I was like, what? I'm done with this. So I sit there. I tell the kid, I say, hey, shut up. And that actually happened. I told him to shut up. And, of course, this made everyone very angry because the ref is not supposed to talk. But, I didn't care. So, I just told him to shut up, and I was like, whatever, we'll move on. And I wasn't even getting paid for this game, so it didn't matter. So, fast forward a few more minutes. The same kid, he now has moved to the goalie position, so he's right next to me. So, they were on the defense of this entire game. And I'll throw up some diagrams so you can see that. But I was sitting there having to deal with this kid for the entire, second half. I end up sitting there telling him, again, to shut his mouth. And again, the center ref isn't very happy about this because I'm not supposed to talk. And even though I know this, I don't care because I'm still not getting paid for this game. So, and I sit there, I talk to this kid, I tell him to shut up, and then his team sucks. I didn't say his team sucks, but I did tell him to shut up in a semi-nice way, It was obvious that I was angry, but he wasn't going to do anything about it, so. this kid ends up screaming so much that they have to stop the entire game, right? He sits there, he tries to pick a fight with me. They have to stop the entire game, and his teammates come and stop him, and they have to move everyone over to the other side of the field, so that once he gets off of the field, it's like timeout. For anybody who doesn't play soccer, I won't get too technical with the terms, but once he's getting swapped out for another player, getting subbed out, he won't actually be able to just come up and sucker punch me. So they move the entire team over, and this kid still is talking trash. Now, on a separate occasion, exact same situation. It's a goalie, and I'm missing offsides again. And this was all like a year apart, all right? So I'm not that bad. I'm not missing them back to back. It's just, sometimes you miss, so sometimes you miss the calls. So I'm sitting there, this time I was, trying to actually keep my cool. I was getting paid for this one. So I just ignored him. But of course his parents, who first of all gave him the okay to have his trash little trailer park haircut, decided to come up and start talking to me behind my back. And not as in literally behind my back. They were literally behind my back, not as in like sitting there whispering, right? So they're yelling behind me, and I've got their little annoying, snot-brained prick of a child sitting there screaming at me in front of me. So, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. Luckily, I had a very angry Mexican man as my center ref, and he basically told them to shut up or they'll get thrown out of the game. So, now if you're dealing with a kid who has the long, like almost a bowl cut haircut, just walk away. Just turn around and walk away. And that's been this episode of Comcat Complains. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.